So do we start with finance or on, yeah, the first resolution? Of course, that's the Gary Davis.
But speaking of that, if all the town board members could stop by the clerk's office and sign that resolution before you.
Just did.
It's just Jared. We're waiting for it.
Yeah.
Oh, perfect. Okay.
We
All right.
we picked it
So
up.
turn it over to Kate. Or Doug.
Yeah, just go through them here. The first couple are just the standard ones, the financial reports and the transfers. So then the next one there is really 136. I'm sorry, Kate, we don't have copies. Can you pull?
Yeah, sorry, it's just getting it shared here. There we go.
I'm just along for the ride.
No, it's, I'll come over here.
Okay, so 136 is, Kate, this is a transfer for Canandaigua Consolidated, just to close out that project, right, for the band interest.
It's not quite closing out the project yet. We still have to get the generator that's on order build, but then we'll come back probably late summer, early fall to close the project. But this one just reclassifies. We ended up paying the ban out of the project. We had the option of paying it out of the water district SW 500 or the project, and it made more sense to pay it out of the project at that time. So we're just classifying the budget to show, because previous we didn't have this as an actual budget line for ban interest. So this just shows that the interest was paid out of the project to keep it in line with how the expenses have been flowing.
Any questions on that? Okay, so the next resolution is the closeout of the Purdy Pendleton PDR capital project. Yay. Sarah did a fantastic job with this. Really took the lead on this from start to finish and just did a great job working with Ag Markets through this whole process. Her first one doing this. This does, our total expenses by the time everything was closed out was just under $5,000 higher than the budgeted amount. So this is a budget transfer into this resolution as we close this out and finish this off. And that's just as, because the original estimates that we did with the PDR, when we submit that to Ag Markets, we have to estimate closing costs. We have to estimate all the
I believe
costs
that was
with the fees
2019
and
even
stuff.
that was put together. I
Yeah, or
think.
maybe even earlier.
I think
Yeah,
it was 18
so-
or 19, so
yeah.
it definitely has been some time
so
since that. There's some changes.
But that closes that one out, and that's all recorded and everything. So that's good. So that, just so everybody's aware of that PDR is in the Paddleford Brook Greenway in the strategic farmland protection area off of Sand Hill Road. So it really links up with a lot of the protected parcels that we have. Actually, this little map right here shows the west side parcels. This is the Brock Acres PDR farms here over here. This is the Catalpa Acres farms. And then it's not shown here, but we've got parcels in here, and all in here. That's the Striker PDR now. And then this Pendleton PDR is this parcel right here. So it really starts to build an entire strip across the Paddleford Brook Greenway that is now permanently protected. So that puts us over 2,000 acres permanently protected. I think actually about 25. Okay.
Could you, during the town board meeting, could you make a map showing that and just, I can bring it up.
I'll be
and you
honest
can-
with you, I probably won't have time before this town board meeting, but we can in a future.
Well, I just mean, maybe highlighting it on Encore then, or something, just to indicate to the public so that they see the connection.
Yeah, I mean, that's these maps, right? We'll have to get these maps
Yeah.
professionally updated and everything and show all those and everything, but we definitely will. I just with everything else going on, I don't think we're gonna have time for this meeting. But,
Okay.
All right, the next one is budget transfer for waste and recycling repairs. That's, I think, the Packer, right?
Yeah, the Packer cylinder and a lot of other issues with that Packer.
That was a new one.
No, that's one of the older ones.
The new one did get.
The ones in.
Yeah,
So
but there was a problem with it, wasn't there?
that's now fixed.
Initially, yeah.
Is it nearing end of life at this point, or?
The older one is It's not, it does not have a good. What's the nice word to say here? It's not very dependable.
Mhm.
So it's fixed, it can be used. It's just not a reliable piece of equipment. So we'll have to look at doing something someday, but right, I don't, until we know what we're doing down here, I do know that the town should spend any additional money
patching.
on some other large purchase of equipment until we know what we're doing. So.
So the next resolution, Kate, this is the audit. You want to talk about that? 139.
Yeah, absolutely. So we, as you know, went through our audit at the end of April, and we haven't yet received the final report. Bonadil will come to the meeting in June to present as they put together all the financial statements, but as we go through the audit, there's a lot of conversation, and the auditors do point out to me what adjustments are needing to be made and where we need to do things. And one of the questions last year had to do with the transition with GASB 84 of payroll liabilities and bids and guarantees. And originally we thought that just the payroll liabilities would become general fund, but as things got more clear and the comptroller answered more questions, this year we revisited, and the bids and guarantees, our sureties, do need to be brought over to the general fund as well. So we went ahead and made that, well, this is what I'm asking to, is to go ahead and make those adjustments to bring all those liabilities over to the general fund to be fully in compliance with GASB 84. And as part of doing that, I always like to audit the numbers, just to go through and make sure we're importing correct figures. And this is one of the last real items that I feel we had for cleanup from when I've taken over. And so Lindsay and I worked really closely together on auditing those payroll figures, and we made some adjustments as well to make sure that those are accurate. That has to do mostly with medical withholdings, because we have that mid-year break for medical, or July to June for our medical, but payroll is January to December. So when we report in December, there's usually a little withheld, and we just wanted to make sure that was accurate. So we have that adjustment. If we go to attachment 6, what I did is I actually posted the journals, but they're not yet applied in the system. So as long as you guys are okay with those, I can go ahead and post them.
Okay, so resolution 140, the appointment of the transfer station operator, Calvin Snell.
Calvin Snell took the place of Jonathan Noble, because Jonathan now works as a light MEO over in the highway department. So I need to get him at his 80 hours. I didn't really, it was a little difficult to be having him between 2 departments. So we hired Calvin to fill that position.
Is he the older guy?
He's the older
Okay.
gentleman. Yeah. Yeah, he was interested before we hired Sean, thank you. And then when this came about, the change in title, we moved him over there, and he's someone to fill this position. So
Okay.
Okay.
Jared?
Questions? Jared, for resolution 141. So 141, the cancellation of the outstanding checks. This is actually Jean's
Yeah,
cancellation of
I worked with
checks.
Jean on this. She had quite a few, you'll see listed in the attachment, checks where people will overpay. So she'll take the tax that's due, and then she'll issue a check back to the homeowner. And these are checks dating all the way back to 2017 that just haven't been cashed by the homeowners. She's reached out on multiple occasions to communicate with them, and they have not applied. So the law does allow us to write off those checks. And we've gone ahead and done that process, and are just asking to acknowledge that cancellation. Also, just note that we do reserve the right to reissue within 6 years. If the rightful owner came and requested that payment, we can issue that back up within up to 6 years. So we'll keep that, she'll keep that record for that time frame. It doesn't total much, I believe it was 170 or so.
And some of those checks are only for pennies.
Yeah, exactly, like
I
34
would've-
cents and exactly. Yeah, some of the homeowners, I think, just didn't, it was worth it. So.
Okay, any questions on that one? That's okay. So the next one is the appointment of zoning board secretary. Just so everybody's aware, we did advertise that. There was, I know, some conversation a couple of months ago about maybe an employee wanting some additional hours. We advertised that internally.
We did,
Like,
yes.
we only
And
received one
I only
applicant.
got one letter of interest, and I did follow up individually with our employees just to make sure they knew the deadline for that. So Kim Burkhardt showed interest, and it was approved by the board, so
She does a great job.
she really
So-
does, she does, and I know she filled in a little bit too.
Lindsay and I track her hours as well, as far as all the different ideas that all the different avenues she helps us with. So there might be, just keep an eye on the future adjustment. Zoning board secretary is applied differently, so we might do a transfer later in the year, just to keep us in mind of that.
So the next resolution is Lindsay's getting busy.
Woo, getting busy.
Summertime.
Summer staff,
All the summer staff.
I think a total of 21 by the end of this.
I know half of these people.
That's
Wow.
good, that's great. We actually were onboarding quite a few new employees this summer, so that is super exciting. And then a lot of our repeaters too. So we are still short about, 4 lifeguards. So if anyone knows anyone,
I need 2/3 of these.
send them
people.
my way.
So I assume the different hourly wages is based on experience with the town. Is that what that is? Or it's varied?
Yep, so for anyone returning, it was a 25-cent increase. Lifeguards, I do believe Doug sent out an email or had some discussion. So we did up that pay to be comparable with the other municipalities in the area. And then the $17 an hour is for our senior lifeguards.
Got it. That's what I assumed. So.
Is one right about in the middle of the page, your neighbor, Emily?
Mhm,
She's gonna be a lifeguard?
mhm. She has 7 jobs, so that makes sense. She needs
Whoa.
8. So.
I'm surprised to see her name.
I was too.
She lifeguards for the Y right now
Yeah.
too. So, and she teaches swimming as well. She'll be a great lifeguard.
It's awesome though, because a lot of our lifeguards leave for college.
True.
And so
She'll be
the more
That's gonna be
adult
a little bit
lifeguards,
later in the
that-
season.
right?
She also rents a cottage on Ononda every summer, so
That is
so
super
she's very
nice.
familiar with it.
Great.
So.
Get paid to be there.
That would be offset that rental.
The next resolution, I think we've all had conversations about this, right? This is the second position that is budgeted in the 22 budget for town court, resolution 144. So this creates the position, the additional second position of part-time clerk to the town justice, so that we can advertise for that and then get the judges helping out there to provide additional support. I think the thought process behind that, right, is support for, so that there's backup. It's currently going to have 1 court clerk, plus also maybe to help with some of the finance aspects and some of the arraignment stuff too. I think I heard him say. Maybe.
A lot of different things
Yeah.
that are done down there that
It's
might not
busy.
be typical.
It's
It is
busy down
very
there.
busy.
And
Yeah,
providing
just-
support.
And to stagger it, so there is coverage pretty much every day during business hours for people who come in to take care of their obligations.
This doesn't hire or appoint or anything. This just begins that process. So, does anybody have any questions on that? It is budgeted, so. Okay. So the next resolution here, 144 or 145, I'm sorry, I believe at the March town board meeting, Chairman McNeil came and requested a recreation director, and then Lindsay and I have been having a lot of conversations about it. Why don't you?
Yeah,
share with the board?
so I mean, myself and Doug both agree, and I think along with the committee as well, that there's definitely gaps with our recreation programming right now. For this year, I think the partnership with the city is going well, but I do think we could have more robust programming for our residents. Most of our camps are held at our parks, and with Motion Junction now in the mix, that offers an additional park for programming. I think if we had someone in-house, we would have more control over our budget and, the programs that we can offer, not just for the children, but adult recreation, senior recreation. I met with Brian and Victor, and they have a very robust program. So my goal is for the town of Canandaigua to have something like that, and we do need someone dedicated. So this is just authorizing us to partner with the county or explore the creation of a recreation director position.
This is something the Parks Committee's been talking about for a long time.
Also in the
Predating
comprehensive plan.
Is it in the
um,
Parks Master Plan too? I think it is.
It is. It was actually one of the topics that was discussed at our strategic planning. It didn't make the top 5, but it
Mhm.
was one of the things that was right there on the edge. This doesn't actually, we'll have to do budget adjustments. This doesn't fill the position or anything like that. Obviously, we'll be back. This just would begin the process, this initial conversation. We could file the MSD 222 to create the position for the town of Canandaigua, and then start to canvas and then see what it would look like from there and come back to you guys.
Is this intended for full-time?
Great question. To be determined. I think that, one of the things that Lindsay mentioned, the program with the city, the day camp program with the city, it's going okay. It's not going great. And could we maybe make some changes so that instead of us spending all that money with the city, that this really starts to head up more of that? Or is there some comment? We got to still figure all those pieces out, right? There's a lot of moving pieces with all of that. The adult rec program, the senior, I should say, senior rec program, right? And then adult, like normal adult programs, we've talked about those, so.
What do you find
So-
as a normal adult? Yeah, you walked into that one. I can tell.
I'm gonna back out of that one.
So HR is right over here next
Yeah.
week. We need to know.
What he meant to say.
Good cover.
Yeah.
Any
Are you
adult.
Parks Lindsay or HR Lindsay? I ask her that all
The
time,
over
so-
18 recreation.
But honestly, too, this person would help with special events.
Yeah.
We get a ton of calls, a lot of interest with organizations wanting to do things within our parks, within the town, and we really need someone to help coordinate that. And I'm telling you, if we get this person, we'll be able to serve our residents a lot better. Or not, non-residents too.
Why don't you put a plug in for the next 2 weeks while you're talking about events?
Oh,
gosh.
Hang on,
Show
bef-
regulars.
before you move on though, I think it would benefit us if we are bringing in this person and everyone decides to do this, if there's any chance that they can experience some part of the summer season,
Yeah,
I think that would be extremely instructive to them going
That would be
forward.
very ideal.
So, yeah.
That's
Again,
actually why
if
we-
that's supported.
Mhm.
that's why we put this on this agenda. It's
Yeah.
because if we're going to do this before the end of the summer so that they experience the day camp program.
Just to even observe, and
Yeah.
then, I'm hoping, again, if this gets approved, we hire the right person, they'll have a background in
Mhm.
recreation, and then they can continue to build and make our programs a lot better.
But it's hard to describe the summer camp program without
Experiencing
observing and
it.
experiencing it.
Absolutely.
So,
This goes back many years. I know when Dennis was, handling our parks programs in the summer and doing a lot of the physical work himself.
Mhm.
The question was always asked, what do we do when Dennis decides to leave? And I know at that time, we, as the board discussed, well, we're gonna have to come up with a full-time
mhm.
director, and a lot of what you enumerated. Here are the things that this person could do and expand, what we already have, and there's more interest now, I think, certainly at the senior level, the older adults that,
Yes.
that wasn't there 10 years ago, So I think it's a good idea. I really do. And I think you'd be able to, I think it would be a year-round position myself, because I think there are enough things to do in the winter that,
Well, we have parks that we can use in winter time as
Yes.
well, where we could,
yeah.
I mean, everyone's looking for stuff to do in winter. Let's be
Well-
honest, everyone wants to get out or do something.
And not to mention, sign up for the summer program starts in February, March.
Oh,
So, and they're building a book, whatever it is, before that anyway, so it's not.
There's no real off-season.
And I know it's in your report, but they're like full. The day
Yeah,
camp
yes.
programs are full.
And we went from-
There's a waiting list.
Yeah, we went from 35 campers at Ononda, we bumped them up to 50 because there's such a need and there's still a waiting list.
They're very affordable. Having used them myself, they're very affordable and a great way to provide some enrichment for your kids. So,
Even Sarah Reynolds from our office is on the waiting list.
Yes, she is.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and we're looking to even expand the hours too, because for a lot of people, that 9 to 2 isn't conducive with a work
Mhm.
schedule.
Yeah.
So and this position would
This
help
was-
with that.
Yep.
I mean, there's 100 reasons I can tell you guys why.
Jared's gotta get back to school.
Yeah, right.
Do the school
Okay.
recreation programs.
Any other questions on, okay. So the next resolution, 146, and first of all, thank you, all of you. Sorry to interrupt your Mother's Day. Especially you, Adeline and Karen. Wow, this came about so fast on this particular parcel, but this is obviously, we've all had many conversations about this. This is the parcel immediately next to McJanet Park that is all forested. Lindsay and I walked it on Wednesday. It's all northern hardwood forest. It's in our strategic forest protection area. Has a blue line classified stream. It has steep slopes. It's immediately adjacent to the park. The Parks and Rec master plan actually calls for a access. The Parks and Rec master plan actually details in it going north from McJanet Park, creating a pathway to the ravine that is actually on this property. And it actually says in the Parks and Rec master plan, we think there's enough room to stay in the right of way so that they didn't have to get permission from the landowner. It's actually spelled out. And then obviously a major connection point for a future trail from Ananda Park to the Vista project. So
Having been one of the writers of the Parks Master Plan, I can tell you, I literally identified this parcel as one that we would want to acquire. But in the Parks Master Plan, we tried to not specifically identify parcels. But this was literally the one we were thinking of. So when you called, I was like, yep, I know exactly what you're talking about.
the purchase price, $69,900. The owner did have a $100,000 cash offer yesterday. It's just amazing. When I talked to the realtor on Sunday and then again on Monday morning, we knew that that may happen. So what we actually wrote into the purchase offer was any bona fide offer that they get over the asking price before we go to closing, that we would actually give them a receipt for an in-kind contribution for that difference. That way they can use it to help offset their capital gains at no expense to the town. And so they were delighted with that because that $100,000 cash offer is going to help them with that. And they're super excited because, and they actually made a counter offer back to us. But what was really important to them was also to tell the story of the Harris family that originally had all of this land in this area and farmed it. And so this particular gully was very, very emotional for the family, for Mr. Harris and the son. They were really debating whether or not to sell it. They had actually even had an offer from a company to log it, completely clear cut the entire thing that they were thinking about doing. They actually, the trees, the blue dots on the trees that you and I saw, those were the trees that were under contract negotiations with the logging company too. That's how far along
That's
it
what
was.
those are.
Yeah.
Oh,
That was
wow.
all going to be
Yeah, we
clear
weren't sure
cut
what they
and
were
everything.
what they were merging.
But they love the concept of this belonging to the town, being available for the public. What I did have to promise them as part of the deal is that we would put interpretive signs, much like what we did at Miller Park, that would tell the little story of the family right there along the trail. And that, you know, eventually they'll want to be part of some sort of ribbon cutting or whatever, but they're from out of state, you know. She's based, the executor of the estate is based out of Cincinnati, but they were super excited to work with us. It was emotional for them as we're working through the process. So
Are the pink ties on the trees, is that indicating the end of the property
Yeah, the
line?
property
Okay, that's
line.
what I assumed.
so, any questions on that one? That one came together very, very fast.
Record time.
Yes.
Yeah, that was record timing on that one. Okay. The next one, resolution 147. This is for us to release an RFP to look at basically a traffic analysis. Essentially for Brickyard Road, Jared and I had talked about this, looking at getting some data for possible future access road, I guess is how we'd say it, right? From Brickyard Road to Town Line Road. I did have a conversation yesterday with Sarah Janecko. She is very excited about this, very supportive of this, because she said that she has developers that are also asking about traffic data for the further development of that parcel at Stella's. And so they're hoping that this helps to document some of that so that they can use it to help track some additional developers as they continue. to expand.
If I can add in there, the main reason behind it also was to move the discussion of an access road further. And then this, depending on the traffic and having somebody in the outside doing it, could tap into other resources, other funding, other opportunities to help with whatever might happen there.
Also lends itself to the eventual water line placement across that. Because
Right.
their position now is that that easement is not really
Right.
enforceable.
So there are multiple
Yeah,
reasons,
exactly.
multiple reasons why we have to go forward with it. This will give us some teeth. This will give us some justification. Depend, whatever we have to come back with and say and request.
And it gives the Janeco family a indication of our sincerity.
Yeah. When I talked to Dave, I said, we do want to move this, we do want to move ahead and not have this stall out. And we want to keep moving forward with it. And he was very happy when I told him we were doing this, that we're, in earnest, trying to move things forward the right way.
And then we'll get the responses. We'll get an idea of what it would cost us to do it. And then you guys can make the decisions. No real expense other than just the time. The RFP, so, which is attached to the agenda. I just did a real basic RFP that just kind of leave it very, very flexible. So, all right, the next two resolutions, 148, 149. I can't believe they're finally here after all these years of Jim asking for two new toys, a vac truck and a bucket truck. So
Potential.
There's potential.
I don't know if, I'm asking the town board to allow myself to work with the county up to
15.
115 on the,
That's
I'm sorry, the back truck. The appraisal came in from a vendor who sold between 95 and 115. Once this is done, then we are going to wait for the county to come back to us with what they're willing to sell to the town for. And I know the county has reached out to every municipality in the county to see if anyone other than the town of Connecticut is interested in purchasing this truck. And they're doing that to basically be transparent about selling the equipment to another municipality. I haven't heard if there is or isn't.
So I'm trying to find the date of the email. But as of the beginning of this week, I want to say, we were the only municipality
Okay.
that expressed interest.
Okay.
And
We
he
used
just
We used it today.
Today's the date, today's the deadline.
Oh, is it? Oh, okay.
Yeah,
All right.
today's the deadline.
just so everybody's know when this is being recorded, what's the benefit of a vac truck?
Well, today we used it because of high priority of utilities around gas, phone, fiber, and electric at Quail Bush, because nothing is put in the ground at a certain depth when it comes to utilities. And over years, everything changes from grading. So maybe 6 inches to 3 foot deep on the utilities. So we go in and we locate them first before we start excavating, so we don't dig it out of the ground. It's the same thing we did on Town Line Road. We had 2 fiber lines and 6-inch gas main, 2 big phone cables, and the water services. We know about where they're at by staking it out, but we don't know the depth or if it's actually staked out correctly. So we hydro excavate down, locate the utility. So we start digging, we don't dig through the utility. It saves a lot of heartache for the town on cost, and we're not taking people out of service if we strike something that we shouldn't be. Should have been aware of before we started digging. So we spent 2 days just potholed on Town Line Road because the fiber optic line runs like this. It's not a straight line. And that fiber optic line on Town Line Road is the backbone for Ontario County. So if anyone hits that, the county goes down. So there's so much being put, and not to digress, but like, I'm not sure if you noticed, but like there are several companies raising their poles due to our town, the town of Victor, and the city of Kennewick was getting a lot of fiber. A lot of it's going to be going in the ground, particularly in subdivisions. Like everything's in the ground. So we know it's going in the ground, but we don't know where the depth is in the ground. So it just helps us avoid those situations. It's very expensive to fix fiber.
Is the excavation a little bit well, easier to do because you can see, but quicker also because you're not just taking a teaspoonful at a time trying to find the.
Yeah, typically we'd use the excavator to dig down, then we start digging by hand until we find a utility, which could take several hours versus vacuuming out material that's in the area. It gets it done sooner so we can locate it sooner. Also helps a lot with keep dewatering holes when we're working in them for water main breaks to keep them cleaner. It also will be, my understanding is almost a backup for Ontario County sewer. In the event their sewer truck goes down or they have a significant issue where they need another vac truck, we could assist them with them if they have a problem someplace between the Canandaigua Lake and the Honeywell Lake Sewer District. So we also have that ability to work with them.
And our rates would be reasonable.
Sure.
What's the expected life of a 2008 machine?
So I don't have an exact answer for you. It's not a daily used truck, put it that way. It's going to be used mainly in the summer months, just because it will freeze in the winter, okay? Unless you have it circulating. So in the winter time, it would mainly be used just for emergencies, to locate or to do a water main break. I would anticipate 7 to 9 years. I like to get out of it because, again, very low hours on the actual motor that operates the vacuum of 300 hours and 21,000 miles on the chassis. It's never seen salt because it's sat in the winter. So it's pre-emission. So we're not dealing with all the post-emission issues we deal with now on equipment. So we haven't got to deal with that stuff. The only difficult part will be finding some of the air tanks if needed for the Sterling or a few other Sterling parts, because Sterling's no longer made. Other than that, but everybody still owns Sterlings. So aftermarket comes into play there. I would think we should be able to run for at least another 7 years. I don't see any reason why we can't unless something catastrophic filed on it. The county did put a coating inside the tank that collects it to prevent it from rusting. It was done locally. It gets done like every 5 years where it discharged it, scours on it. You have to fix that because it was starting to pit on them. So that helped.
And what's the cost of a new machine?
About, if you had to buy one today, the county was $475. And we would, what's that?
And it took about
Months.
8 months, 6 to 8
No,
months.
they actually bought a demo. Because a new one would take till 2024 if you bought it today. Or you'd see it sometime. That goes for a lot of our equipment today.
If we're able to get this about a quarter of what the price. would be,
Yeah, if we can get
to
it
actually get one.
for like 100,000.
And it gives us half the life of a new one. We're better off. We're ahead of the game.
Farther ahead of the game, so.
Yeah, the new one, the estimate for the new one is the 95 to 110 range.
Okay.
So we should be more than comfortable within that.
Okay. I don't know if it's gone to the county level as far as them making a recommendation.
It has not come through yet. Once the letters are received,
Okay,
then it would, if more than 2 municipalities, then it would have to go to,
Okay.
the bids at the, auction between the two. But the discussions that I've had, if we're the only ones, it's
Okay.
pretty much a done deal because of what, the municipality to municipality. We don't have to go anywhere else with it.
Correct.
And we can just take care of it. And we're in a good spot.
Yeah, keep filling that out for us, the
Yeah,
information through the comptroller.
Yeah.
Specific state
Mhm.
law.
Search
for
for-
it, Yeah.
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 Years of state laws.
Just watching the time here, you guys, the bucket truck, Jim, just
I did.
briefly.
So I'll briefly discuss that. We've been discussing a bucket truck for a number of years. Not only just for us doing tree work, but for street lighting, our street lighting districts, the parks needing it for doing their work, gutter cleaning, flag repair, miscellaneous stuff. It's become increasingly more difficult to find a bucket truck. One, to rent, you can't find one anywhere to rent. Two, we used to use East Bloomfield quite a bit. Their equipment is no longer, it's not reliable. And neither is the city of Canandaigua bucket truck. That's also kind of sketchy. We could use the cities once in a great while, but they're usually busy with it themselves. So I've been working with Alltech for about 2 years now, and they found this 2016 Ford F-550 with 52,000 miles on it. It's in Syracuse. It's got a 40-foot boom on it with 26 foot of horizontal outreach, which could also be used for the signs to do them in the deep ditches. So we're not trying to work off a ladder. We have
Plus all the tree trimming.
the tree trimming, the
all that
lights.
stuff.
We also have, so I'm coming to the town board at the last minute on this piece of equipment because I more or less said, look, you be told May 18th to give you an answer. After that, you can go with it from there. Because if the town board says no, then we'll just, you have to sell to the next person. It's in good shape. It gets inspected annually. It has this dielectric test annually. But what that means is it gets tested electronically. If it got within high voltage, the person on it wouldn't get electrocuted, so it grounds itself out. You know,
And we have people that can operate this. with the
yeah, I'm sorry, thank you
standards
for
and
saying
stuff.
that. So this keeps us under the CDL requirements. So anybody who has a standard driver's license can operate this piece of equipment, drive it down the road without a CDL. So it's 19.5 for weight. So
Is this something you could see us renting out to other municipalities in the future if they needed it?
I don't know if we rent, and here's why. A lot of times we share equipment. Okay, so if I need the mill head from the city and they need their bucket truck, we just kind of,
Swap.
we swap. We don't.
Mutually.
It's a mutual aid agreement. I mean, like, just I borrowed a hydro cedar for 2 days from the county.
Yeah.
They might need a dozer for 2 days from us. It's
But where I do see it is we all have plans for Uptown, right? And the Uptown bid, and when we start hanging banners, the bid can pay the
It could.
town for using, you know, that kind of stuff.
yeah.
As well as the lighting
Right.
districts. and
Right.
All that stuff.
parks.
Yeah.
The lighting districts are a big thing.
Yeah, the lighting
You know, Fox Ridge has lights out and I struggle to fix them because I just don't have the equipment.
Well, even though, and Adeline was asking me about some of the trees in the cemeteries, this would allow us to get in without,
Correct.
start to trim without having to get easements from the neighbors to drop trees and everything else.
Especially
Yes.
being on the 550.
Mhm.
It's more-
It's narrow enough to get in.
Yeah.
So that's for your consideration on Monday. I would appreciate a yes.
It would be helpful.
Now you're asking for all your toys at once.
That's what Terry said. the other day, so.
Christmas in May.
You don't want to save anything for later?
It's
gonna be nothing to look forward to.
I'll be honest with you, I don't know, I don't mean to digress, but like, I don't know what we're gonna do about replacing our pickups and 550s, because you can't get them in a timely fashion. Ford is not taking orders. Chevy's gonna open it up here soon, and they're gonna go fast. So, it's,
We got a good
Equipment has
repair
become
shop at
very
least. but-
challenging.
Well,
it
we already,
is, but
yeah, we already pre-approved, 20-some police cars
mhm,
to just buy, to purchase them when they come
come
up.
on,
Because they're gonna come up and they need to be able to move on them.
right.
We still have the stuff that was approved as part of the 2022 budget when we adopted that we haven't been able to order yet. Some of the light
Right.
duty stuff. that-
This here, the water main materials, myself and the city of Canada work together to put a greater quantities together to help us with our prices. I honestly don't know how much to help because the price of everything is very expensive. But that being said, the 91,000 was budgeted for as to replace mainline valves and fire hydrants throughout the consolidated district for the ones like, I'll give Cheshire, for example. We had a water main break. I really couldn't get a valve to turn off unless I was way away on the newer part of the system. And I had to shut down a lot of the system to do the work. So we need to replace those older valves so we can not have as wide of an outage when we have these water breaks. And the same with the 50-year-old fire hydrants. So a lot of those materials are in there. You know, a year ago, we were paying about $2,500 for a hydrant. Now we're paying $3,300 for a hydrant. And they won't be here for 5 to 7 months.
I'm gonna have to leave 11:30.
Okay.
Sorry.
I think I got it.
That was it for finance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the annual drinking water report, that's one every year I submit to the Department of Health. Comes to you for approval. It tells you what our violations were, gallons purchased, gallons consumed, flushed. It's honestly, it's cut and paste every year. It's just different numbers. That's all it is.
No alarming.
Nothing, yeah, the ordinary here. Goes to the state, it goes to the state and then the local agency. We will put it on the website. We'll also have it in a little blurb in the water bill to tell people where to find it. So
You wanna-
Do we want to have a quick executive
That'd be
session?
great. I mean, if you want to invite everybody that can, it's up to you, but we just want to.
Yeah, so anybody who, yeah, let's go. So if we can get a motion to go into
Make
executive
a motion to
session,
go into executive session.
inviting those who are here
John, you can say.
to discuss the sale, release of real property where public discussion could affect value.
Can you stop that? Can you stop that?
are we all starting around or do you want us to?
You can.
I wasn't sure what you had going
Okay,
on.
all in favor?
Um,
Aye.